Tonight we're talking about banning the burqa and other Islamic full-face veils, whether they should be banned. And as you can hear, it's fairly lively in here, and I think we should have probably been keeping on going during the commercial break. But anyway, could I ask you all please to just quiet down? We are back on air now, and I would like to just start this section by talking to Tanveer. Tanveer, you're a non-practicing Muslim. You're from a Bangladeshi background. Before the break, we were talking about choice, and I'm interested in how much you think this is about choice and how you define choice in the context of this debate.
Jenny, as we've seen, people bring a host of their own beliefs and prejudices to the image of a woman in a burqa, and that's from all sides of the debate, so it stirs immense emotion. We've heard various arguments, be it the unique French sort of staunch secularism of keeping religious symbols out of civic spaces. We've heard about coercion, which is increasingly we've seen isn't the case. So that's another argument that's relatively weak, I think, certainly in Australia. And we've also heard about security, which, while valid, is probably a fringe argument. Now, very interesting, what I want to pick up is people talking about that they've chosen to do it. So in this context, the burqa or the veil is increasingly an assertion of individual identity. Now, this is actually a very modern trend. This is not its original purpose. It's very much a communal garment. But now increasingly we see young Muslims wearing it as an assertion of identity. And that's very Western. It's a very Western thing. Now, we heard from Tariq Ramadan talking about the increasing visibility of Western Muslims. You mentioned that I was a non-practicing Muslim. From my background as a Bangladeshi, I'm fairly rare. It's unusual that I'm a non-practicing Muslim. Several studies around the world have shown second and third generation immigrants of other immigrant groups, non-white groups, most immigrant groups become more secularised over generations. Muslims, increasingly, right around the Western world, become more religious.
Why?
The nature of that religious observance is different. It is very much about assertion of individual identity. It's more political. There's more elements of sort of political protest. They link their own grievances to that of Palestine or Iraq. And also, there's a much more what's termed religiosity. And the notion of that is that they're much more likely to express their observance by outward symbols.
Okay.
Be it wearing a beard for men and women, wearing a burqa, even though, say, from my culture, South Asian, most women back in, say, India, Pakistan, wouldn't wear a veil or a burqa, whereas women growing up here are far more likely to wear a burqa. It's an expression of identity, protest, all wrapped up into one.
Is that the case with you, Amina?
I completely disagree. It's more to do with knowledge. Once you are knowledgeable in where the niqab stands from an Islamic perspective, and I encourage all of you to study about the niqab from an Islamic perspective, you will find it's not about finding an identity. It's not about this or that. It's about pleasing Allah. It's about imitating the wives of the Prophet. That's
okay,
it.
so Amina, can I ask you, does your mother wear a burqa?
No, she does not.
So why do you wear a burqa when she doesn't?
Who's my mother? Like, each one is for themselves. On the Day of Judgment, I'll be.
But I'm just wondering if part of what Tanveer says is correct.
And I'm also like more knowledgeable in terms of where niqab stands than my mother. My mother is probably more cultural, whereas I've seen it from the Islamic perspective.
Okay, Sibel, what about you? Do you relate to anything that Tanveer was saying about it being partly a protest as well as a religious expression?
Well, at the end of the day, speaking on behalf of myself and all the people that I know who wear the niqab, at the end of the day, it is a personal choice. You know, like I mentioned earlier, despite the fact that my male family members were against it, I still decided to wear it. In Islam, we are given, we are told to be modest. Now, every one of us will interpret modesty in their own way. I may express my modesty through the covering of my face, which is fine. Others may interpret modesty as being just covering the scarf, which is also fine. It all comes down to each person's choice of how you define modesty.
That's a very Western argument. So the whole idea of individual choice, she's expressing herself as a Western woman, effectively. but then putting on the garment. Yeah.
Okay, Osman, how do you see the burqa? I mean, do you see it as an absolutely...
I think practicing Muslim.
I think Mr. Mayard in the beginning, his comments were quite indicative, particularly because in France it has been banned, whereas in Australia the discussions more at a beginning stage. I think the issue of the niqab is not, I will posit, an issue about the niqab itself. It comes in the context where all things Islamic in the West have increasingly come under the spotlight, whether we talk about mosques, masjids, the teaching of Quran in schools, halal food, so on and so forth, Muslim loyalties. We've had the values debate a few years ago. And so it's not about the cloth, but what it represents in terms of Islam itself and the Islamic revival. And this is where I bring, I think, Tanveer's comments. You know, I think he's the one that's given it a Western interpretation, but what we see is an Islamic revival on the global stage. And so, but this has been said before. Tony Blair in 2006, he said that the full-face veil is a mark of separation. And he went further to, very importantly, I think, say, or indicatively anyway, that there's a need not only to debate the full-face veil, but the place of Islam and how it fits in the modern world. So for me, for us, I think it's a very clear a discussion of values and differing values and the whole question of integration.
Can I ask you the same question I asked Sheikh Omran earlier? Sure. Because you're from an Islamic political group which has been banned in some other countries. And I just wonder whether you think the burqa and the niqab are central to being a Muslim woman. Do you think the wearing of these garments is central to being a Muslim woman?
That's an interesting question, but from the Islamic perspective, it's important to understand that Islam is vast in the sense that it allows for difference of opinion. And a thing can be Islamic even though there are different opinions. So the niqab is certainly Islamic, even though there are opinions which say it's obligatory.
So is there freedom for women to not wear it if they're Muslims?
Yeah.
No, but I'm asking...
When we talk about freedom, Jenny, there's a very important distinction between law and fact, de facto and de jure, as there is in the Western law.
Yeah, but I want you to answer from your perspective, from your group, as one Islamic group, do you think it's central to being a Muslim woman to cover your face like this? Is it central?
What I'm saying is the word central is not adding...
Well, do you think women should?
The point is that Islam has certain rules. It says that the hijab is obligatory on everyone. I'm answering the question.
The point is you think it is central, but
Ruby, okay, Ruby, what did you want to say?
No, the problem is you're asking from a Western premise.
Ruby?
I think some men from the more extreme side of Islam do think it's central for women, but they want it to come across as if the women are doing it totally by choice, so that the men will never... Can we... This word choice has been bandied around a lot tonight. Can we just discuss the context of the choice? Yeah. This choice that women are made to wear the burqa. It is a patriarchal symbol. It was around before Islam. For the first 200 years of Islam, Muslim women were not required to wear the burqa. For 200 years, they were not required to be veiled. Okay? But as Islam spread, it absorbed the patriarchal traditions of the countries that it spread into. The burqa, the veil, whatever you want to call it, is one of those. The reason women... No, this is history. If you read history books besides the Quran...
Let her finish. If you could finish,
okay, it is a cultural symbol. It was absorbed by Islam, and for hundreds of years, scholars have been using religion as an excuse to keep women covered up. In a patriarchal society, women are viewed as sexual beings that are there to tempt men into immorality, and the reason they are covered up is so that they don't tempt...
Okay, quick response.
That's not history.
Quick response from you. Yes.
That's not history at all. That's not true. Stop making up stories.
Yes.
I used to wear the niqab.
Okay, Sheikh Omran, just wait a moment. Let this lady speak.
I wore the niqab for 4 years. I'm a 7th generation Australian. My mother is a 6th generation Australian. She grew up with Christian values. She converted to Islam in the early 70s. My mother now wears the niqab. She chose to wear the niqab.
I'm talking about people
now,
who have been raised in it and I'm talking about history.
And I decided to choose to wear the niqab at a stage in my life. At my spiritual journey, I decided at a time in my life...
The essential question that no one is answering is why are women...
You've been given the opportunity to speak, so I think it's important to let other people participate.
All right, one at a time.
Does it matter why? At the end of the day, it is our choice.
Of course it matters. No, I'm saying...
Why do you wear what you wear? It's up to you.
Well, because
Why do you wear...
Why does he wear a suit?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, okay, Corey Bernardi.
Why does he wear a suit?
Okay, everybody, we can't hear anyone speak. We can't hear anyone speak. Sheikh Omran, sorry everyone, please, quiet, time out. Okay, Sheikh Omran.
Please, we didn't say we refused to answer, as two of them there said, I refuse to answer, or he refused. No, we don't refuse to answer the question.